Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Saturday night, had a long day. Let's make a little video. Finally getting a chance to just kick my feet up. I want to philosophize a little bit tonight, talk about freedom. I'll tell you, I guess, what got me on this kick, and then we'll just kind of talk about the word and see what we think it means. I started off studying bohemian lifestyle, bohemianism. I stumbled into this weird world of YouTube about these off-the-grid communities of artists and bohemians and people that just kind of want to do their own thing. And there's several of these communities around the country, rather large, like whole cities. But these cities are very weird, like shantytown almost type places. And these are in areas very remote. They don't pay taxes. They just kind of do their thing with their art. And as I was studying these weird communities, there's one, if you want to see what one of these looks like, go into YouTube or on the internet and put in Slab City. That's just one of many of these places, but Slab City is an example of one of the ones, these weird bohemian, hippie, anarchy cities. I don't even know what to describe it. But the main theme, when a lot of these people that want to go off the grid, the main theme that they all have when asked, when interviewed, why did you do this? Why did you leave society? And everybody has their reason. But what it all boils down to, because some people were homeless, some people were running from something, some people wanted to retire and they just wanted to try that kind of lifestyle out, whatever. There's different backgrounds, economic backgrounds. But most all of them had this universal answer of they wanted to go off the grid and try this lifestyle because they wanted to be free. They valued their freedom. So then I got to thinking, well, what the hell is freedom? I've been homeless. I've lived off the grid. What makes you think that just because you don't have sewage and electricity that you're free? I don't know. So let's just philosophize a little bit about what is freedom. It's hard to define because everybody has their own little idea. But a word should be able to be solidly defined. A concept should be able to be solidly defined. If you can't define it, then it doesn't really hold water. It's not really a thing. It's just something subjective, something lofty. Is freedom just some lofty bullshit? You ask a prisoner, and he'll tell you freedom's on the other side of that wall. Freedom's a destination. Freedom's outside of your head. Freedom's something that other people hold in front of you like a carrot on a stick. But that's not the mindset of the Buddha. That's not the mindset of the Shaolin warrior. That's not the mindset of the samurai. That wouldn't be Bruce Lee's mindset. No, freedom for some of these types of people would be internal, not external. It wouldn't be a location or a destination or something that someone could give you. It would be inside your head. And if you think about that for a while, is freedom a concept that exists inside your head? I mean, it does seem to make sense. Freedom is an outlook that might be determined by your worldview, by your political view. Republicans and Democrats, or put it more extreme, liberals and conservatives, because there's kind of a moderate portion of each party that does think the same. They even flip-flop back and forth every few years joining the other's party, but if you're a conservative, right-wing conservative, you have a different worldview than the left-wing person, obviously. So your definition of freedom would be different. Go talk to somebody who's completely different than you politically, who's opposite from you politically. If you're a Donald Trump supporter, go talk to somebody in Antifa and ask them what their idea of freedom is. I guarantee you it'll be a different definition than you have. You'll be sitting there thinking, what? And they'll say the same thing about your definition. So that makes it tough. Is it just about individuality? And if freedom is an individual pursuit, then what do our laws and our Constitution gives us certain kinds of freedom? America is the land of the free. What does that mean then? And if freedom is this internal concept, it's just an outlook, it's something that's just inside your head, then why would anybody care about going to prison? Prison wouldn't be taking away your freedom, because freedom would be inside here, right? It gets rather confusing of what freedom actually is. If you think about it, the more you think about it, and I find myself with this, the more I think about what freedom is, it starts off like so obvious. Anybody knows what freedom is. But then if you really try to get someone to define it, oh yeah, well tell me then. Tell me the answer. Tell me in a couple sentences what you think it is. Oh, it opens this whole spider web of questions. It just makes it more complex. And if you search on YouTube, you'll find some of the smartest people from you know, various philosophers from the 1800s to current psychologists and everybody in between, all talking about freedom and what it means. And they all kind of say different things. Interestingly enough, Krishnamurti, if you're aware of him, he talked about freedom as like a nothingness. That this idea of freedom of choice. We think that the freedom of choice, unlimited choices, I can choose whatever I want to choose, like that's freedom. Krishnamurti says no. The idea of choice, you have a choice. And if you choose, you're playing that game of choice. You're playing the game of choosing. Even if it's 10,000 choices, 100,000 choices. You're in, what was Baskin Robbins? They had 31 flavors of ice cream. You should be able to find your favorite. Nobody walked out of Baskin Robbins saying, nah, they don't have my flavor. They're gonna have your flavor. They got 31 flavors. That's a lot. But as long as you're playing the game of choice, you're still restricting yourself. You're not actually free. You're just choosing what's being fed to you. It's like you think you're free because you could go to Walmart and pick a favorite shirt. You're just picking from the selection that's fed to you. All of consumerism is that way. Much of our individual choice is that way. I was noticing as I was driving to lunch one day, there was groups of students who had must have gotten out of school early or whatever, and they were walking through the neighborhood on their usual route when the school buses let them off. And it was like almost all of them were wearing ripped jeans and like tracksuit jackets. Like every one of them. Each one of them trying to express their individuality. It's like if you had dreadlocks and that's like your thing and you want to express your little individuality, this is my culture, this is my vibe, I like this kind of thing. Well, what if you're, and sure, I'll give you that, that makes you an individual. But what if you're in a room or you move to a town and there's 3,000 people in your town, it's a small town, and every single person, this is just a hypothetical scenario, every single person in that town had dreadlocks. Now, if you go to some concerts, there'll be 20,000 people in the room, and I mean, almost every single person there has dreadlocks. Are you still an individual? You're just expressing your individuality? What makes you an individual? You're a conformist in that scenario. If you're a dreadlock person in a room full of 20,000 other dreadlock people, you've just turned into a conformist. I would be the only individual in that room. So freedom is weird. We don't know if we really have freedom of choice, and that brings us into this idea of determinism. I mean, you got to kind of ask yourself this question. Can you believe in freedom and determinism at the same time? If we're not in control of our bodies, your bodies tell you when you have to go to the bathroom. You don't have a choice of when you got to poop. I think I'm going to poop today at 7:15, no, maybe 7:18, and then I'll poop again tomorrow. No, when your body has to poop, you got to poop. You're like, I got to go. Uh-oh. When you're hungry, you got to eat. Your body tells you when you're hungry. It tells you when to sleep. It'll literally just shut down. You'll just start passing out. It tells you when to sleep. You don't have a choice. You think you're in control? You think you have all this choice? We could reduce this down. We could talk for the next hour about little areas where you think you have choice, but it's an illusion. You have an illusion of choice. But that brings into a huge philosophical debate about determinism versus non-determinism. And the non-determinists always want to point to the double slit experiment to prove their point. So I don't know if we're going to solve that here. The only question I'm asking is, how can you believe in freedom? I'm free. If you also believe that there's really no free will. Because if you had true free will, you'd be able to control your thoughts. You can't control your thoughts. Your thoughts just come up. You don't even know where they come from and why you're thinking them. And that's why Krishnamurti talks about true freedom would be not thinking. True freedom would be not even choosing. True freedom would be a state of nothingness. True freedom would be death, is what Krishnamurti says. There is no possibility of true freedom in life unless you can reach this kind of meditative nirvana-like state that Buddhists and Taoists and people in that side of the planet get down with. Still just simulated though. Are you free as long as you're trapped inside your head? Wouldn't freedom be a consciousness that just kind of floats around? It's all just food for thought.